First of all, I mean, I've already spoken about it, but a big congratulations on your GMAT 705 score, 98th percentile. And so we see the score breakdown of quant 91 percentile, 86, verbal 99 percentile, which is really, really, big breakthrough there, and data inside 89 percentile. So how are you feeling about this, Devesh, after the score?
Yeah, I think definitely a good score. Helps me, keep myself in the league for most good schools. So yeah, glad about that.
Superb. So, obviously, I would like to know more about how did this entire journey start, right? From the thought of why GMAT, why this MBA, which also comes from the fact that where are you currently working and how did this thought come in to this 705? Could you just take us through the entire stages?
Yeah, sure. I think it's probably a really good idea to get your YMBA right before you go down the GMAT path or the MBA path. So yeah, so I've been working as a product manager now for the last 2.5 years, and I really like being a product manager, and I enjoy working in tech. And I was a data scientist previous to my current role, and I think I have a bachelor's degree in computer science, so very typical background. But I wanted to sort of move to the US because if you look at product management jobs, San Francisco is the number one place, the Bay Area, and I think Bangalore is close second. So I'm
Yeah.
already at a good place. Bangalore is a good place, but yeah, I wanted to move to the US, and it started from there. So I wanted to be a PM in the US, and then sort of reverse engineered how can I get there. And initially, I was sort of anti-MBA a little because of how expensive the programs are. They're a full 2 year degree, and honestly, nobody really needs an MBA, and that's what all schools sort of ask for. They really try and ask you, which is why the most important question in the essays are why MBA,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not a mandatory degree. Nobody really needs that degree, and it's such a talked about degree. Should you get an MBA or not? So I actually applied for a master's program in the US, which is specifically it's Carnegie Mellon's Master of Science Product Management program. I got in there. I
Uh-huh.
applied for GMAT waiver. I didn't really need to go through the GMAT process, but then I sort of thought that what is the highest leverage thing that I can do, and then there are certain schools in the West Coast that I would prefer to the MBA, and then I sort of started looking at the long term returns that spending some time learning and improving my skills in a lot of management related stuff that will help me as I progress in my career. The sort of benefits that I could get even if I want to be an entrepreneur later down the line. And overall, a 2 year program sort of helps you, integrate well into the system, and it's also it adds a lot of credibility to recruiters, etc. Because the brands that I worked at, they may be very well recognized in India, but then in the US, I've really not worked for the Microsofts and the Stripes, right, which are very well recognized there. So
Right.
getting good brand name in the US sort of would help me because the job market there, of course, is a struggle. So that's when I sort of decided, what, let me give a shot at the MBA. And then it was like a sort of packed journey of about 3 months where I tried to get a score. And yeah, that's when I got the score. So yeah, advice to anyone, get your YMBA right really well, whatever it is. And then try and work your way backwards from there. That, do I really need an MBA? Or, don't be, even if your goal is ambitious, don't be vague. Like, I just want to go to the M7s and Oxford, Cambridge, and INSEAD, right? That's like a very vague goal to have, right? Where do you want to end up? And do you really want to work in the Southeast Asia region? Then, INSEAD is a fabulous school to go there, right? Do you want to be in Europe for the next foreseeable future in your sort of life, right? Do you like London as a city, right? So those are things that you should really ask yourself, tie down that goal, and then sort of, do that. So I did that journey, and then, US West Coast schools that have a emphasis on tech and entrepreneurship are probably more suited for me. So that's how I begin my YMBA journey. Yeah.
There were very few people that I really come across who have such clarity. And trust me when I say this, when you're in the business school, you will see people with this kind of clarity actually be your peers right there. Because this is what an adcom, now you are going to go through the process of applying and everything. But this is exactly the mindset. Because unless you are going to be spending so much money, even let's say you get a full waiver off for your tuition fee, they would want to know why are you there? What next 5 years do you see yourself? And this kind of answer kind of really nails, to a certain degree, it actually is the right kind of an answer. When we've seen, at least I've seen people in that space or be in that, your peers are going to have the similar kind of mindset. So great thought, I would say. Now, so after that initial journey of why MBA, so how did you stumble upon Sandeep sir and why, and how did the GMAT start for you? What were your struggle areas in the very beginning?
So yeah, I think usually, we have that typical sort of, especially if you come from a slightly academic background or you've given other standardized tests, you can sort of undervalue GMAT, right? You can say that it's not a UPSC, it's not a JE, and you can say that what, I've been 1% in so many exams. Let me just go and give this exam, right? Not take it very seriously, but then at the same time, you obviously do some sort of formal prep. But I did not respect it enough, and I absolutely paid the price for that. I got like a 585 in my first attempt, and there were like a lot of weak areas. I think even my quant, which I was expecting that it'll be a smooth journey, and I think the 585 score was on the online format. And I would strongly advise everyone to absolutely, do not give the online format. So just for context, right? There's first of all, there's like a myth that which I sort of believe to be true, that the online quant is harder, right? And it's a myth, but I actually felt that I've given like close to 10 official mocks, like five, I gave them twice each. So I've given like 10 of them. I gave the official offline mock there, and then I also gave the online mock, online official exam. The online official exam was clearly, it was hard. It was harder than the GMAT, sorry, the official portal, not the official portal, the top one mock portal mocks, right? It was harder, right? So that's happening because there's a lot of cheating happening, and right, there's like even the whiteboard is something that you'll have to wipe off every time. You'll waste your time there. So unless you are in a remote area where the test centers are just in a bad state, which usually won't happen because they try and standardize that, I would strongly recommend anyone to giving the exam to give the offline exam, and don't have any second thoughts about this, right? Even some Indian business schools have straight out refused to do it, like
Refuse to take
CPI
this
and Hyderabad,
accept the
etc.
score, yes.
So give it offline. That's like my number one advice. Maybe that help was a little bit of a screw up for me during my first attempt, obviously. And then I think test stamina is something that you gradually have to build, right? You need to. So the GMAT really sort of emphasizes like the focus edition. So focusing is very, very important in the exam, and everything that you read, there needs to be like a lot of active reading involved. You can't just read the passage and then you can't be skimming through text. You have to really, really read it and be actively involved in every line. That doesn't mean you have to understand the meaning of everything. Of course, GMAT is a logical sort of exam which emphasizes on you understanding bigger picture things, what is sort of representative of what is expected of you to go and do after you graduate from B school and even in B school, right? So it does emphasize that. At the same time, it demands a lot of attention, right? So I was even during my first attempt, I was like involved in so many things, right? I had a very demanding job. I had like a lot of extracurricular life stuff going on, and then I was giving my GMAT, and then I thought, that's when I got a reality check, a bad score, and then I sort of after one, then I quit my job. I cut down all the extra activities. Put a focus, this sort of anti social media app on my phone, sort of monitored all apps usage, and then because you need your phone to use Google Pay and Swiggy and all of that. But yeah, sort of restricted phone access really well, cut down all the other activities, and then for 1.5 months really went hard on whatever my weak areas were in the GMAT. So for example, critical reasoning, I was at an accuracy of like 60-ish, and then in the final test that I got, I have a 100 percentile, 100% in all CR. So I really worked on those areas, and for I did a lot of mocks to improve my test stamina. Because towards the end, right, even if you look at my score right now, I think my worst was in data insights, wherein I got like 7 wrong. And I think I have a theory around it, because even in my GMAT, even in my first test, I have a 91st percentile in quant. I only got 1 wrong, by the way.
Right.
And that was like the 8th question or something. And that's weird, but it does happen to a lot of people. And a lot of people, end up blaming like the algorithm and, the GMAC and all of that. But my test was easy, right? When I have to say quant on a representative level, and I've done a lot of practice, so I know that test was easy. And I'm pretty sure I got an easy or a medium wrong, right? And that's a silly mistake. And, that will kill your score, right? So sort of advice for anyone giving the GMAT, you cannot get the easy and mediums wrong by any chance. That's a score killer, right? Your score is gone. If you get a hard wrong, nothing. You don't lose much, right? There are people who have like 99th percentile in DI with 5 wrong and all of that, right? Those scores exist, but you cannot get easies and mediums wrong. That's number one. And number two is the test is sectionally adaptive, slightly, right? So that's not something a lot of people know, because of course, within the section, it's adaptive, right? When you're giving if you get like 10 questions in a row, right, you're obviously going to get harder questions. Everybody knows that. But intersection also, it's adaptive. So for example, and the GRE is completely intersection adaptive, but the GMAT is just slightly. And this is officially confirmed by the GMAT and stuff. So for example, if you give the quant and then you have a really good quant performance, then they'll start you with a harder question and your next section is verbal. They'll start you with a hard straight away rather than starting with you with a medium, right? So if you are not good at the second stuff, that will shake you a little, right? But again, since it's a hard, and if you get the hard wrong, it will not kill your score, right? And there are these myths that, if you get the first wrong, then your score is destroyed and all of that. That's not true, right? They've tried to obviously eliminate all of these, right? If they give a hard for you first, they won't kill your score there, right? So it's very important to get the easies and the mediums right. And yeah, that's a very important sort of thing if you want to get a good score.
See, the GMAT test can be quite challenging. So, what is your personal motivation throughout the preparation period, especially when you're facing tough topics, like you just said, or sometimes it's very you already mentioned that you switched off from socials, but there's still times where you felt like giving up or maybe focusing or concentrating. So, what was your personal motivation during that time?
I think just understanding, right? Are there any alternative ways? So, for example, which is why the why MBA question really helps when everyone
Yeah,
should get a really good answer, right? I mean, take a vacation. Don't if you're at the self-paced course, if that's what it takes, right? Whatever, talking to people, figuring out, brainstorming, right? And that's not a question that is answered in a day or in a week. It takes time, right? You are building a career, a long-term journey, right? So getting a good answer to that question is not easy, right? So do give yourself that time to find out that answer. And if you have a really good reason to do it, then I guess things become easier, right? And if it gets challenging, right? If you still feel after putting in all the effort, right, in a very fair and standardized exam that you can give again, right? It's not like the CAT, right, wherein nobody knows what kind of questions will come, and it's only once in a
right.
year,
Yeah,
right? It's not that, right? They're giving you a lot of flexibility, which is how life in general is. One interview, if it doesn't go your way, that's not the end, right? So you can always give the exam again. You can always give yourself more time, right? So, for example, I also was very, very black boxed on trying to get my applications in R1. And
right.
because I missed the R1 deadline, and that's why I messed up my first score. And when you put that pressure on yourself, that's when things go haywire because you have so much to do. Getting your
Right.
letters of recommendation, getting your essays, and that's a very exhaustive journey, right? You cannot sort of try and do everything in a very short span of time. When you put a time box, you mess up, right? So obviously, give yourself a little more time. And if your friend is going this year and you feel that you've just started and you won't be able to do your go this year, that's not really a good answer, right? Maybe your friend started early, right? You had a lot of fun with family and you had a lot of fun with your hobbies, right? That's good time that you spend, right? To be a little more, relaxed to the idea that, if I have to give it next year, then so be it, right?
Right.
But obviously, do my best, take the amount of time that I need, and obviously, do that, and then that really helps with sort of having a good answer to, how do I endure through the hard times through the GMAT journey.
Right. So, obviously, the answer that you gave is fantastic. You really have built a very solid system of, like you said, the why goal was so solid that anytime you had distraction, you had to look back on that. Also, the fact that looking for alternative, but sometimes this is what I was trying to get at, that you have a high stake job, and you can't be like away from work for so long. You always that is ticking, and did you, in this scheme of things, and you're not seeing the result that you want, you know where you want to go, the goal, but that's just not matching. Sometimes this is a high moment for all of most of us to either continue pursuing this, or just take a break or something like that, right? So how did you leverage? Did you have any peers, or did you have any kind of mentor that you kind of just leveraged on, and continued with your preparation, or even probably attended any of Sandeep sir's motivation seminar, anything that kind of just helped you sail through these thoughts? Or did this thought come in the first place at all?
Right. It's very natural, by the way. So when I gave my GMAT first attempt, I was doing everything. I was trying to sell my job. I was thinking of what I would do after I finished my GMAT. I was doing my applications, and clearly I failed, right? And I failed because I was trying to do all these things at once, and then I had the prioritization matrix, right? If I don't get a really high GMAT, then I'm not getting into the school, right? I'm not getting the scholarships. I don't have $250,000, right? So that's very, very important. And that's why I sort of, even resigned at my job because I know I'll be able to find a new job. I'm very distracted by this idea. Maybe I'm not saying that everyone should quit their job, right? You should find that middle ground wherein you are able to give your 100% to the exam because it really demands it, right? And if you are able to do that without it, right, if you think you can just coast through the exam, and which is what I initially thought, I could coast through it, and why don't you try that and see if it works? If not, then start cutting down the things, right? So, and obviously, to people in demanding jobs, especially if you work there for some time, or if you have good results, etc., talk to people, right? And by people, I mean your managers and senior managers and VPs and whoever they are. Just talk to them and say that this is what I need to be doing. Be very open about it. The moment you try to hide things from people,
There's
it's
an
a waste of
extra
time for
pressure.
you, right? Yeah, you end up putting a lot of pressure on yourself. Just be very open and transparent about your goals and say that what, I'll be here till this and this year. I need the time off, right? Give me a sabbatical for 2 months. Try and do that if that is what you need, or try and take a 2 week vacation if that's all that helps you. Another really good thing or really good time to take the GMAT is, especially if you're in a demanding job, is if you're in between jobs, right? That's a very good time. You'll have a notice period. You can request for 15 more days of break. And then during the onboarding time, right, of course, you want to, set a really good first impression over there and all of that. But still, the work pressure isn't insane from day one. So you can leverage that time as well if, that's a good time for you. And of course, if you're in school, then absolutely, right? Everyone has time in school. Everyone has time in their first job, etc., right? And, understand the consequences of failure are not, existent at all, right? For example, if you fail in the GMAT, you can give it again. If you suck at your job, you can do better in the next quarter. You can find another job, right? So have that sort of mindset wherein it's okay to fail, but I have to go all in, right? If I want to sort of get there.
Right. Not at an expense of sounding redundant, but we've already said a lot of do's and don'ts. What a student should be doing during the exam or during the preparation or so. But if you could go back in time, what is one piece of advice you'd give yourself at the start of the GMAT preparation?
Yeah, I would say don't do the multiple things at once, and focus on the GMAT at one time, right? And that's what I would say, because I tried to do it all at once and I really failed at that, right? So I would say be a little kind to yourself. It's okay to try, but find out what's the highest leverage thing for you, and go all in that on that, right? At that moment, what is the highest leverage thing that you can do? And of course, have a really high bias for action towards that thing, and be patient with the results, right? So impatient with your actions and patient with your results. Find your highest leverage thing, and go all in on that. And of course, go through whatever instructions in whoever your trusted GMAT coach is, right? So for me, it was top one. If you find some other coach, you find some other course, right? Go ahead and do that. But don't sort of keep second guessing either yourself or the place where you're learning for, right? That's like a gateway to disaster.
Right. So, Devesh, have you already started your round 2 application process already?
Yeah, I'm quite deep into that process.
Deep. Thank you so much for taking out this time. Is there anything that you would like to send a message to Sandeep sir, or maybe even the students who are probably preparing? Anything last words that you would want to say?
No, I think I've covered most of the things, right? Just go through the journey, right? I would say, I don't know, that's very generic, but yeah, just follow the process.
Exactly. So, Devesh, thank you so much for taking this time. I had such a wonderful time talking to you, and I have a great feeling about, where you're going to be placed because you have the right vibe check already. But beyond that, just having this 10, 15 minutes of conversation alone gives me a great perspective. It's that, you definitely are placed and West Coast, and with the kind of profile that you said, and you want to see yourself. Trust me, there's so much opportunity, given a decade of me seeing so many students going before and after. I'm sure, and I have that feeling that you definitely are going to be placed. You're going in the right direction. You don't need a lot of rework, but we wish at top 1% from Sandeep sir and all of us that the admit comes through. And we are anyways connected on LinkedIn. I would really have a shout out when we see that the admit come through very soon. Yeah. Keep us
Absolutely.
posted. We'll be really rooting for that.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Have a good day. Bye bye. Take care.